Good evening. Welcome to another installment of Dwayne Allen Guitar Concepts. And tonight I want to go back and do a lesson for my beginning students. It's been a while since I've done lessons for any of the beginning students. Been doing a lot of advanced lessons and intermediate lessons lately. I always find it hard trying to come up with a cool lesson for my beginner students because when I teach privately, the main thing that I work on with beginners is just building up your technique, like scales and getting hand strength and speed going, reading music, which is kind of hard to do in a video lesson, and just basically teaching them basic songs. Because to me, when you're a beginner, that's the main thing you got to focus on is learning songs, having music to play. Once students get more intermediate and advanced, I'm assuming by that time that they know tons and tons of songs, and then they're just looking for more concepts. Anyway, I want to talk today about what we call diatonic chords, and I want to talk about like how chord progressions are made up and how they're the basis of most songs and songwriting, okay? A couple prerequisites that I think you should know before this lesson is you should know basic like major scale construction. How is a major scale constructed? And how are basic chords constructed, right? A major chord is 1, 3, 5 of the scale. A minor chord is 1 flat 3, 5 of the scale. These are things that you can find on YouTube, plenty of videos out there. And this concept that I'm going to talk about today, I definitely didn't invent it. It's been used for hundreds of years, and there's 1,000 guys teaching it out there. But it is one of those things that I want to talk about. And chord building and scale building, you can get that anywhere. And if you take lessons with me privately, I definitely teach that kind of stuff. But for this purpose, I'm assuming that you know it or that you might learn it before we do this lesson. So, and one more thing, key signatures. You really should know all your key signatures. That's also something you can get on videos on the internet. Key signatures will tell you how many sharps and flats are in the key of G or in the key of B flat or key of A or whatever, right? You should know how many sharps or flats is in a certain key signature. That is a huge thing that is very important. So let's talk about diatonic chords. So basically, what is a diatonic chord? Basically, if you take a major scale and you play, let's say like G major. I'm going to play in the open position, just keep it simple. So if you do a G major scale, let's go over the notes of G major really quick. G major, if you know your key signatures, you'll know that there's one sharp, which is F sharp. I'm picking G major because it's probably the most common key that a lot of pop and folk songs are written in. So if you play a G major scale, all the notes of G major are G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, okay? Now, diatonic chords are when we put a chord on each note of that scale. So you would do a chord on the first note, a chord on the second note, a chord on the third note, a chord on the fourth note, and so on, right? And the way we recognize these chords is we call them the 1 chord, the 2 chord, the 3 chord, okay? So here is the formula that we're going to have in the key of G, but this formula is going to be for any major key. So you can take this formula and put it to the key of D or the key of E or the key of B flat or whatever, okay? So in the key of G, G is the 1 chord, okay? The 1 chord is going to be G major, okay? The 2 chord on the second note of the scale is going to be A minor, okay? The 3 chord is the third note, B. That's going to be a B minor, okay? The 4th chord is the 4th note, which is C, so it's going to be C major. The 5th chord is the 5th note, which is going to be D, which is D major. The 6th chord, which is the 6th note, is going to be E minor, okay? Okay. The 7th note, which is the 7th chord, is going to be F sharp diminished. And then back to the 1 chord. Okay, so what I want you guys to remember and learn is for any key, the 1 chord is major, the 2 chord is minor, the 3 chord is minor, the 4 chord is major, the 5 chord is major, the 6 chord is minor, the 7th chord is diminished. Okay? People, when they write songs and do this kind of stuff, they don't use the 7th chord that often. It's used a lot in classical music, but not really in pop and folk and rock like what we're going to talk about. So if you take that that formula, you can put it to any scale. So let's do like the key of D for a moment. So if we do the key of D, it's going to have 2 sharps, which is F sharp and C sharp. So if we say all the notes out loud, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D, okay? The 1 chord is always major, so we have D minor. The 2 chord is going to be E, always going to be minor, so it's E minor. The 3rd note, 3rd chord, is F sharp, always going to be minor because it's a 3 chord. The 4th note is G, which is always going to be a major chord, so we have a G major. The 5th note is A, so that's going to be a major chord, so it's an A major. The 6th note is B, so it's going to be a minor because 6 is always minor. Okay, the 7th note is going to be C sharp, so it's always going to be C sharp diminished, and then back to D again. Okay, so now what do we do with this? All right, so like we said, the 1 chord is major, the 2 chord is minor, the 3 chord is minor, the 4 chord is major, the 5 chord is major, the 6th chord is minor, the 7th chord is diminished. So this is where we come up with progressions, okay? Whenever you're, like, we're going to go back to the key of G. Whenever somebody writes a song in the key of G, most of the time they will use one of these 7 chords. So when someone says to you the song is in the key of G major, what they're saying is that the song is made up of chord progressions from the diatonic chords of G major, okay? So that means, you know, one of those 7 chords in G is probably going to be used most of the time, okay? So the 3 chords that are most widely used out of all 7 chords is going to be the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord. The reason is because those are the 3 major chords of a key, right? So in the key of G, the 1 is G, the 4 is C. You count on your fingers, G, A, B, C, right? C is the 4, D is the 5. So G is the 1, C is the 4, and D is the 5. Okay? So if you take endless, countless folk songs and stuff, like whatever, She'll Be Coming Around the Mountain, whatever, you know, if you look at the chord progressions of those songs, it's almost all going to be made up of the 1 chord, the 4, or the 5. Sometimes there's others too, but those are the main ones. You take simple rock and roll songs. Wild Thing, right? That's actually Louie, same thing, right? So, you could take simple punk songs, 1-4-5, rock and roll. The blues is 1-4-5. When you hear a guy go like this, I'm shortening it. I'm doing 1-4-5. The G chord, C, 5, 4, 1, right? So that's where, if you've ever heard the term 1-4-5 in a blues, all that means is you're using the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord of that key. All right, I hope you guys are getting this. So let's take a popular song, and I'm going to show you how they're using these diatonic chords, okay? One of the first songs I teach all my students is Brown Eyed Girl by Van Morrison. It's just a really easy song, okay? So key of G, right? So for those of you who know the song, in the intro, there's just kind of the little... right? But beneath that is chords. So it's going to go G, C, G, D, right? Right? Pardon my singing. But you have the G, C, and D chords. 1, 4, and 5 chord. Okay? So if we're singing the song, and when we go, days when the rains came. So you're playing 1, 4, 1, 5. Now now when the chorus comes up, it goes like this. Brown-eyed girl, you're my brown-eyed girl. So when that part comes up, it's 4, which is C, 5, which is D, then the G again. Then it goes to E minor, so G, A, B, C, D, E, E minor. The 6th is always minor, so E minor is the 6th. Then back to the C, which is the 4, 5, 1. You got the idea? So that whole song is made up of diatonic chords of G. Now obviously the chords don't go in order. It doesn't go G, A minor, B minor, C, right? But that's what's happening in this song. That actually made me think of another song that we're going to talk about. So let's do another song, another famous song from the same era, Take It Easy from the Eagles, right? So same key of G. Well, I've been running down the road trying to loosen my load. I got 7 women on my mind, right? So it goes G. I'm trying to blank it out. G, D, C, G, D, C, G. Same 3 chords. 1, 4, 5, right? Then it goes to the E minor, which is the 6th. Take it easy, take it easy. So it goes E minor, which is the 6th chord. 4, G. Then it goes A minor, so it's G, A minor is the 2. C, which is the 4, back to the E minor, which is the 6th. Then it goes C, 4, G, 1, C, G, A minor, C, G. Okay, you get the idea? So there's a song where you're using the 1, the 4, and the 5, but then they add in the 6th chord, then they add in the 2 chord. So they're almost using all the diatonics except for the 3. They didn't use the 3 in this song. Some songs stick to the 1, 4, 5. Some might go 1, 4. One of the most popular progressions that anybody uses, especially I remember in the early 2000s, every single pop punk song was the same progression. Right, you guys have all heard that. Same chord progression is Within You, Without You. With or Without You, sorry. U2. So that's just a 1, which is G, D, which is 5, E minor, which is 6, and then C, which is 4. Okay, so I just wanted to, I don't want to have the lesson be too long, but I wanted to teach you guys the concept of what are diatonic chords, where you're playing a chord on each note of the scale, and you just have to remember that formula, right? Major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. Okay, I went a little fast with that, but that's what the pause and the rewind's for. But if you can do that in every key, then when you go and learn a song in that key, you're going to realize, oh man, most of the chords are these chords. Now, do some songs have chords that are not in the key, like not one of those diatonic chords? Yes, for sure. Some songs will have a chord thrown in that's maybe from a different key, or maybe a chord that you would not even think belongs in the key, but it makes it sound really cool. So that's part of great songwriting, is sometimes throwing in an oddball chord. It gives you a lot of spice, okay? If I was you, what I would do is figure out all of your basic major scales, all your 12 keys, and know the key signatures for each one. And what I would do is I would say and play through all the diatonic chords for that key, just so that you familiarize. So like if you're in the key of C, you go right up the scale. C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, and then B diminished, and then back to C again. And do that in every key. Do it in C, do it in G, do it in D, do it in A. And if you do it like in a key of F or something, you're going to have a lot of bar chords, because a lot of flat keys, there's no open chords. So that's okay. Use your bar chords. F major, G minor, A minor, B flat major, C major, D minor, E diminished, and then F. Okay? If you can do that in all the different keys, then you'll have a very good understanding of how songs are put together. And the other thing that you got to think about is when you go to learn a song. Okay, if you're learning a song and you're using your ear and you're figuring it out, use this concept. If you're learning a song in the key of G, know what all the chords are in G. Then when you go to figure it out, it's probably going to be one of those chords. It's, you know, some people when they're figuring out a song, they're trying to look for all these random crazy chords. Most of the time, it's not going to be that way. It depends upon what kind of music, you know. If it's heavy metal or Nirvana or whatever, they usually do more riff-based music, so it doesn't follow this as much. But if you're learning like Beatles or you know, Eagles or Neil Young or whatever, it's going to pretty much follow this system, okay? So I hope you guys got what we were talking about today. It's an important concept that if you're in the beginning stages of learning that you should learn. This is not a beginner's lesson, but it's kind of that stage. But if you're at the point now where you're learning lots and lots of songs, you should analyze them. Figure out what key is this song in. Look at the chords. Where's the 1? Where's the 2? Where's the 3? If you do that, it's going to give you a great understanding of how songs are put together, which will in turn help you if you want to write your own songs. All right? Hope you guys got something out of that. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. If you like the lesson, please hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you next time, and have a great end of 2020.